Hello crypto world, welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. So I came across an interesting discovery on the 2013 Bitcoin decline. So Bitcoin does an initial peak and then it crashes down, and from that crash it recovers and does 3 bounces down to a capitulation point. Depending on what it does down here, or put it this way, this bounce doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's a V bottom. So when it does a bounce, I call it a pattern B. When it does a V bottom, I call it a pattern A. It can be challenging finding what is a wave versus all this mess going on the chart. But I discovered by putting this 50-day moving average, it became quite clear where those waves are. So as you can see here, it made it above the 50-day moving average to make a peak, forming the peak of wave 1, comes crashing below it, forming the capitulation point of wave 1. It gets above it, forms the peak of wave 2, and the run-up got above it too. The run-up to the peak dives down below the 50-day moving average and comes to a capitulation point of wave 2. On wave 3, it gets above the 50-day moving average, forms a peak, and dives below it again, forming a capitulation point, at which point it does a bounce. This bounce, again, makes this a pattern B. So this made it quite helpful in distinguishing the waves that take place on a Bitcoin decline. But now it's one thing to say that it helped here. We can't say necessarily that something that took place in 2013 and 14 will help us in today's chart, unless this is a pattern that has been playing out throughout Bitcoin declines. Let's examine the next Bitcoin decline and see if we can find this pattern repeating once again. If you enjoy this type of video analyzing fractals and patterns and chart structure, I encourage you to hit that thumbs up button. More importantly, if you would like to continue to see my analysis, please hit that subscribe button as well. Okay, so here we are in 2017. December 2017 is when this peak took place, and the decline took place in 2018. This does not do a bounce. It is actually a very long, stretched out V bottom. Price descends, goes sideways, and then pulls up very quickly. If this was shrunk back, it would make a V bottom. So price drops from the peak, comes back up, and gets above the 50-day moving average, making the peak of wave 1 or bounce 1. It dives below the 50-day moving average, making the capitulation point of wave 1. Price moves up, gets above the 50-day moving average, making the peak of wave 2 or bounce 2, goes below the 50-day moving average again, coming to a capitulation point, the capitulation point of wave or bounce 2. Price moves up again, gets above the 50-day moving average, forming a peak of wave 3, and dives back down, pulls up again a little bit, and then dives back again, making the capitulation point of wave or bounce 3 before just basically moving flat. This is like the dead zone of time here. It's been stretched out by time, this whole sequence. Let's see how this 50-day moving average compares to today's decline. The next decline that takes place is today's decline. Okay, so here we are at today's decline. There's the initial peak, came crashing back down, price moved up. This peak didn't go as high as it normally does. Sometimes with fractals, they can be compressed, they can be stretched out, but the pattern should stay the same, and it does here. So price made the initial peak, hit the initial peak, came crashing back down. Price pulled up above the 50-day moving average on the run-up to the peak. So it came to a peak above the 50-day moving average, making this wave 1. price goes below it and comes to a capitulation point before moving back up again and getting above the 50-day moving average, just like it did here. It's doing it here now, and then it moved up, made a peak above the 50-day moving average, and then crashed back down, all the way back down to what appears to be a capitulation point, and now price seems to be moving up again, and we see that it has just started poking above the 50-day moving average like it did here and like it did here. So my guess, and we will have to see how this ends up playing out, Bitcoin and all charts, they can throw curveballs at you, but if the pattern holds true, which so far it appears it does, this will be the run-up to the peak of wave 3, just like here and just like here. At some point, there will be a peak, and then it will drop. And since this is a pattern B, pattern A's and B's rotate. So you get a pattern A, and then you get a pattern B. So this is a pattern B, at which point it will do a bounce and then move on into its recovery. Well, I hope this video was helpful. I'm not a financial advisor, so nothing I present here should be construed as investment or financial advice. I'm so thankful you watched this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.